Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives, and check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/greatdetectives. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us using your favorite podcast software. And this is our 4,450th episode special. And I hadn't had anything specifically planned, and we had done quite a few episodes of suspense recently, as well as Screen Guild Theater and related programs, as well as, of course, the Lux Radio Theater. And then I realized it's been a pretty long time since we brought you an episode of the Molle Mystery Theater. And I checked, and it has been nearly 5 years and more than 1,500 episodes since we last visited this series. Now, of course, the entirety of the Molle Mystery Theater run is not in circulation, which obviously presents a challenge. And further, not every episode of that series is really a detective program that we can use for this podcast. But regardless, we are massively overdue for another trip to the Molle Mystery Theater. Now, for those of you who were not listening in August of 2019, or who have never heard of the series, the Molle Mystery Theater was an anthology series broadcast over NBC and originating from New York. It ran from 1943 to 1948 and featured various mystery stories, some based on short stories and others original to radio. Today's episode is from January 17th, 1947, and the title is Corpus Delecti.
Hello, creeps. Mystery Playhouse invites you to visit the Mystery Theater. The play, Corpus Delecti.
You can go in now. You can have half an hour.
A half hour?
Sorry, the warden says that's the best he can do, even for you, Lieutenant Connors.
All right.
I'll be back. You can call me if you want to leave before then.
Jim. Jim. Jim, for the love of God. Jim, boy, you've got to tell me. You can tell me.
There's nothing to tell.
You can tell your own brother. Don't you see, this is my business, Jim. I'm not a police detective for nothing. I could help.
It's too late, Mike. In 2 days, it'll be all over. They say they give you a shot of something before they take you to the chair. They say you hardly even know what's going on.
But you didn't do it. I know you didn't. You're taking a rap for that cheap line.
Stop it, Mike.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
You can't talk about her like that, Mike. If you knew how sweet she is.
Jim, I know you didn't kill her husband. I don't know what happened, but I know you didn't do it. Why don't you tell me, Jim? What can I say to Mother? I've got to tell her something. She's waiting at home now.
If I tell you, will you promise me something?
Anything, Jim.
Promise me you won't tell anybody but Mother, and not even her until I'm Until after the day after tomorrow.
I promise. Jim, what happened that night?
I love Mary more than anything in this world. She loves me. You knew her husband, Martin Stevens, a wealthy Wall Street broker. Well, she told me she'd asked him for a divorce, but he wouldn't give it to her. She was terribly unhappy. Then this night she called and, well, I'd never heard her sound that way before.
Jim, come to me. Quickly, darling.
Mary, what's the matter?
Did not tell you over the phone. Just come, Jim.
All right, I'll be right over. I rushed out and got the cab. Couldn't imagine what had happened. When I got there, Mary met me at the door. She was trembling. She led me to the living room.
Jim. It's Martin. Jim. Look.
Martin, her husband, was lying on the floor. His head was all bloody. There was a heavy candelabra nearby with blood on it. He was dead.
I didn't mean to kill him, Jim. We'd quarreled again. And he said such terrible things about you and me. He kept screaming names at me. Then he started to beat me.
Oh, Mary, your face, it's all bruised.
He kept hitting me. Then I grabbed the candelabra. I told him to stay away. But he kept coming toward me. Jim, I didn't want to do it.
Oh, Mary, honey, you've only done what everyone has a right to do. It was self-defense.
But everyone will say I did it because of us. They'll put me in prison.
No, I won't let them. We'll run away.
That would only make it worse.
Yeah, I guess so. But we'll have to do something.
Jim.
Yeah?
Jim, if there weren't any body.
What do you mean?
If there's no Corpus Delecti, they can't find anybody guilty. Can they?
That's it. They won't even be sure there's been a murder. Oh, that's it. We've got to get rid of Martin's body. We had to get Martin's body out of the house, so we went up to the attic, got a cedar chest, carried it downstairs together. Then we forced Martin's body into it and locked the chest. I was in an awful daze, but luckily Mary seemed able to keep her head.
I'll help you get the trunk in the car, Jim. Then you drive right out to our summer place on Long Island. There isn't a soul there, I know.
All right.
Don't turn on any lights there. We'll put the trunk in a boat and...
What'll we do?
I don't know. I can't imagine who might...
Maybe they'll go away.
Jim, it must be my dressmaker. She was supposed to stop by this evening for a fitting. If she knows I'm here...
All right, I'll get rid of her.
Shut the doors to the living room before you open the front door, Jim.
Right. Yes?
Is Mrs. Stevens home, please? She expects me for a fitting.
I'm sorry, she isn't home.
But Mrs. Stevens told me particularly to come just now at this hour.
Well, she went out earlier, unexpectedly. She'll call you when to come again.
Well, thank you. Good night.
Good night. I got rid of her all right, Mary. I said you'd call her.
Good, Jim. You better get moving now.
No. Mary, I'll go alone. You'd better establish an alibi.
What do you mean, darling?
Well, why don't you go to a movie and ask the usher or the ticket seller something? Anything, but talk with somebody a minute so they'll remember you.
But, Jim...
Just in case, Mary. I want you to.
All right, darling. If you say so.
Everything worked like clockwork. Mary went to the movies, and I drove out to their Long Island place. The place was deserted. I drove to the boathouse, got the cedar chest into the boat, and then, when I was offshore about half a mile, I pushed the cedar chest overboard. Then I returned to the boathouse. Started to drive back to town. About halfway home, I was stopped by a motorcycle policeman.
This your car?
No. It belongs to a friend.
And how come we got a call to pick up this car? It's been reported stolen.
It's my duty to warn you that anything you say may be used against you, Mr. Connors.
But I tell you, I'm a friend of the family, Inspector. There's nothing extraordinary in my using their car. I've done so many times.
Well, all I know is that the chauffeur returned here, found the car gone, and reported it stolen.
The chauffeur? But I'm sure when Mrs. Stevens returns, she can explain.
Very well. Perhaps you can explain those bloodstains on the rug in that next room.
I don't know.
We found fingerprints on the candelabra columns. I'm arresting you on suspicion. We have every reason to believe Martin Stevens has been murdered.
You know the rest, Mike. They were my fingerprints on the candelabra. I picked it up when I first got there.
So you confessed to shield that double-dealing, no-good woman. Didn't even defend yourself in court. Now she's letting you take the rap for her.
But it wouldn't do any good to drag her into it, Mike. I'd go to the chair in any case. And remember, Mike, I'll deny everything I told you. Remember that.
I know. Oh, Jim, how could you fall for that Corpus Delecti stuff? Jim, don't you know what Corpus Delecti means? Don't you know it has nothing to do with the body of the victim? It means body of the evidence. You can't be convicted unless the body of the evidence is against you.
And it was all right, even to the dressmaker saying I was the only person there that night. Oh, nobody would believe the truth now.
Perhaps they would, if we had the truth.
What? But I told you the truth.
All of it? I'm going to get to the root of all of this, Jim. But why didn't you tell me sooner? Don't you see you've only left me 48 hours? 48 hours. So that's the story, Mrs. Stevens. Jim has told me everything. Now, what are you going to do about it?
I don't know what Jim told you. All I know is that I spent the evening at the movies. When I came home, the police were there with Jim.
Look, there's only one person who stands to profit from your husband's death, and that's you. I happen to know a little bit about your husband's financial affairs. I know he was positively bankrupt. And I know his one asset was a $100,000 insurance policy.
My husband left me well provided for, yes. And just what does that prove?
Prove? Nothing, I guess. By the way, where's that chauffeur of yours, the one who reported the car stolen?
He's no longer with me. He gave notice and left.
Where did he go? Didn't he leave a forwarding address?
No, he didn't.
Just disappeared, huh? I see. Well, I'll be going.
Oh, just a minute. I've got some letters of Jim's upstairs. I found them while I was going through my things and packing. I'll return them to you.
Packing? You're leaving town?
Yes, I'm going to my father's in Chicago. Shall I get the letters?
Go ahead. 38 hours. Jim, 38 hours. Hello.
This is International Airways. Is Mrs. Stevens there?
Just a moment. Could I take the message, please?
Certainly. On her reservation to Monterey, Mexico, we have a seat for her on the 6:30 flight tomorrow morning.
Monterey? You must be mistaken. You mean Chicago.
Oh, no, sir. There's no mistake. Monterey, Mexico.
Okay, I'll have her confirm it. Thank you. Monterey. Why did she lie?
Was that the phone? I thought I heard something.
Something about a reservation. I said you'd call back.
Oh, I guess it was my reservation to Chicago. Well, Mike, here are the letters. You see, I didn't like to return them to Jim under the circumstances.
That shows a great sense of delicacy, Mary.
Goodbye, Mike. I dare say we won't be meeting again.
I dare say. Still, you can't tell. It's a small world. Hello, Mother. This is Mike, Mother. Listen, I'm flying to Monterey this evening. I haven't time to see you. I must take the early flight. I want to get there ahead of someone else. Yes, it's about Jim. I don't know why I'm going or what I'll find. I'm just playing a hunch because there's nothing else to do. Okay, Mother. And, Mother, say a little prayer, will you? Only 31 hours more, Jim. 31 hours more. Maybe this is a wild goose chase anyway. Maybe it's only a false lead. Maybe... Oh, Jim, only 31 hours more. Now, look here. Are you sure that...
Si, senor. Yes, it is so. I have explained to the senor before. The second flight from New York has just arrived.
And I tell you, All right, thanks.
Now I have guessed. The senor is waiting for the lady, no? A lady who is arrived for the next plane. Oh, no wonder the senor is impatient. See, I was young once myself, you know. Look, senor. There comes a lady now. She appears to be going to the taxi cabs. Is that the lady?
Yes. Yes, that's the lady. Thank you, my friend. Cab. Hey there, cabby. Follow that cab ahead. Follow that cab and don't lose it. Si, senor. I'll make it worth your while, driver. 20 pesos. 20. 4 hours more. I'm too late. Even if she leads me where I want to go, it'll be too late. There's a chance still, just a slim chance. Oh, Jim, you didn't do it. If only she leads me to the guy who did, Jim. Driver, what's the matter? Driver, what is this? Can't we get through this crowd?
Oh, the senor is fortunate. Tonight is fiesta. Only tonight can you see such a fiesta as this.
But I told you, Here, driver, I'll get out. Got to find that other cab.
Momento, senor. I know where the other cab goes.
You do? Where?
The driver is Jose. He go to Hotel El Fiente.
Good. How soon can you get me there?
Oh, maybe an hour, maybe two. When fiesta is over, quien sabe.
An hour or two. I can't wait. I'll walk.
But, senor, such a fiesta only comes once a year.
Senor is all alone and in such a...
No, thanks. Excuse me. Excuse me, please. Let me through, please. I'm sorry. You, look, which way is the Hotel Fiance? I mean, ¿Dónde está el Hotel del Fiance? Lord, 10 o'clock. Excuse me. Sorry, please, let me through. Is this the Hotel Fiance?
Si, senor.
What time is it?
Oh, son las 10:30. I mean, it's 10:30, senor.
The American lady who came in less than an hour ago, what room did she go to?
Oh, no American ladies registered here, senor.
She came in here. She must have.
Oh, quien sabe.
Here, this is for you.
Oh, gracias, senor. Gracias.
Look, she is my wife. I think she deceives me. You understand?
Oh, but of course, senor. Senor, listen. Room 402. There is a man there.
A man there. Now we're getting somewhere.
Mike!
I'm coming in, Mary. No, don't try that. gun is loaded, and I don't mind using it.
What do you want?
There's someone I expect to meet here. The man who really murdered...
What's the meaning of this, sir?
Holy mother. The Corpus Delecti. Mr. Martin Stevens.
Martin. Jim's brother. He's a detective.
Detective? Now, look here.
Get up and sit down, both of you. It's almost 11 o'clock. In exactly 1 hour, my brother Jim is going to die for the murder of a guy I'm looking at this minute.
You have no right.
I'm doing the talking, Stevens. You can thank your lucky stars I found you in time, because to help me, The phone. What's the phone? Operator.
Si, senor.
Get me Albany, New York. The governor's mansion, quick. It's a matter of life and death.
Si, senor. Dallas, Texas.
Please, operator. What? It isn't in an hour. In New York, it's exactly 1 hour later. It's 8 minutes to 11 Monterey time, but New York time, it's 8 minutes to 12. He's going to die in 8 minutes. Operator, please hurry. He's going to die. Don't you understand? He's going to die.
Dallas, Texas. Please put this call through to Albany, New York. Albany, New York. Very well. Hello, Chicago.
Operator, please hurry. Please sit quiet, you two. And if you know how to pray, you'd better begin. You better pray this call gets through. If it doesn't, you're not going to leave this room alive, either of you.
Chicago. This is Dallas, Texas. New York, please.
Hurry, operator. Please hurry.
Sorry, all the circuits to New York are busy. There will be a delay of about 20 minutes.
20 minutes? But there isn't 20 minutes. Operator, he's going to die.
Just a minute, sir. Chicago, see if you can get me Buffalo. Give me Buffalo, New York.
You thought you could get away with this, but you won't. That phony murder.
Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, give me Albany, please. Sorry, I have no free circuit to Albany. I'll try Rochester. Please hurry, operator.
Hurry, please hurry. Oh, Jim.
Rochester, New York. Give me Albany, quick. Albany, New York.
Albany, the governor's mansion, and please hurry.
I'll ring it, sir. Just a moment.
Answer, you fools. Answer. Don't you realize Jim's going to die? Answer.
Executive Mansion.
Let me speak to the governor.
The governor is retired. This is the governor's secretary speaking.
Well, listen very carefully. A man's life depends on it. This is Lieutenant Mike Connors of the New York Police Force calling from Monterey, Mexico. In less than 5 minutes, my brother Jim Connors is going to die in the chair at Sing Sing for the murder of a man who was sitting here in this room, alive. Now tell the governor to call the warden at once with a reprieve.
But how can I be sure this isn't just...
For heaven's sake, man, investigate later. You can check on me at headquarters in New York. Only stop the execution, if only for an hour, while you do investigate. Don't you understand? There isn't time for anything now. Wake the governor. Don't you understand? An innocent man is going to die. Believe me, believe me.
I'll do what I can. I'll call you back.
I'll stand by for the call, sir, and ring you at once, sir.
Thank you. I don't think he believed me. He didn't believe me. You'll find out, only it'll be too late. So another execution is going to take place tonight. Right here. For murder.
No, you don't dare do anything like
Shut
that.
up! I know now just what you did. You, Stevens, lie down. You smear yourself in the candelabra with some of your own blood so it looks all right even in the chemical analysis. You, Mary, send for Jim and dump Stevens' living body in the cedar chest. Then when Jim answers the door, Stevens steps out and tosses in some weights. Oh, it's simple, I tell you. It's almost midnight. It's almost time. Almost time.
Mike, please,
Shut up.
Mike.
Then Stevens beats it for Mexico. You collect the insurance and come here to meet him. You remembered everything. You had the dressmaker come to find Jim there and told the chauffeur to take the car so he'd find it gone. You... We'll pull the switch soon. Only a few seconds more now. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What? It's midnight. Jim's dead. You killed him, you two. I promised you you'd never live.
No, Mike!
You killed him. Now it's your turn to die.
Give me that gun.
Brother, this I love.
Oh.
And now is for you, Mrs. Martin.
No, please don't kill me, Mike. Don't.
I'm executing you for murder.
No, Mike.
Now.
No.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, Mike? It's me. I'm in the warden's office. Hello, Mike? Jim.
Jim. It's Jim. Jim, Jim.
It's past closing time on the Mystery Playhouse, so good night. Sleep tight.
Welcome back. I'm pretty sure our hero in this episode was played by Ken Lynch, aka Sergeant Corbett from The Adventures of the Falcon. I went and re-listened to another Molle program where he was featured, and they did credit him, and it's the same voice as we heard in this episode. It's not quite as thick or pronounced as the Sergeant Corbett voice, but it's definitely the same guy. The whole idea of the meaning of Corpus Delecti is something that gets misused in Golden Age entertainment quite a bit. And actually, our hero gets it a bit wrong. Corpus Delecti doesn't mean body of the evidence. But as I was reminded in another old-time radio drama with the same episode title, which we will probably end up playing for you someday, it means body of the crime. And that means that you shouldn't be prosecuted for a crime without sufficient evidence that the crime occurred. So in this case, you could have the body of the crime without the body of the victim because there was enough evidence to indicate that the crime occurred. Now, of course, it's cute to refer to the body as a corpus delicti, but not accurate. But because it's a cute idea, it definitely persisted. This is far from the only old-time radio drama where the telephone system becomes a central component of the story. The telephone had changed American life in the early 20th century, and Americans really enjoyed the new convenience that it brought to their lives. And as the telephone was adopted, more and more people became dependent on them. But America's phone service was a complicated series of exchanges and connections, often requiring operator assistance, and I think in some eras, even usually requiring operator assistance. What happened if that complicated system had to perform at a time where it was a matter of life and death? For folks in the late 1940s or early 1950s, that was the basis for some real drama in a way that may be harder for those of us who rarely, if ever, used a rotary phone can imagine, let alone the current generation. The telephone system, even though it's a local system in that case, is central to one of the greatest radio dramas of the era. Sorry, wrong number. There was also the Radio City Playhouse play Long Distance, where a woman spent the entire half hour trying to get a hold of the governor with evidence that should lead to a commutation of a death sentence. There was, in fact, an entire episode of Nightbeat where Randy Stone spent the whole episode on the phone, and he was not scrolling TikTok. The idea of the governor going to bed early on the night of an execution is a bit odd. I've read the autobiographies of some governors from states where the death penalty was in effect, and they write of staying up until the hour of execution just in case. It does make me wonder if this practice varies, or if this is the sort of thing that grew up culturally. Because before the telephone, there would have been little point in staying up late. Maybe the tradition grew up in part as a result of dramas and fiction where something happened at the last minute and the governor needed to be reached. And of course, the governor staying up does serve purposes because typically they'll inform the governor once the execution has been carried out. And also, if something goes wrong in the execution where the governor may decide to go ahead and issue a stay so that they can be able to carry it out properly. Well, now it's time to thank our Patreon supporter of the day, and I want to go ahead and thank Jim. Jim has been one of our Patreon supporters since April 2021, currently supporting the podcast at the shameless level of $4 or more per month. Thank you so much for your support, Jim. And that will actually do it for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow us using your favorite podcast software. We will be back tomorrow with the adventures of the Falcon, where...
Sit down, won't you?
I'd rather not, if you don't mind.
All right, suit yourself. Cigarette?
No, thanks.
Okay, let's get down to cases.
I want a divorce.
What do you expect me to do about it?
Well, I'll need evidence.
So you want me to do a little keyhole peeking? Huh?
Yes, his name is Reed Stevens.
You mean his name was Reed Stevens?
What?
That's a funny thing, Sergeant, but I don't remember you knocking.
Come to think of it, I don't remember that either.
What do you mean my husband's name was Reed Stevens?
Well, don't you always use the past tense in connection with a deceased?
What are you trying to say?
He's been murdered, Mrs. Stevens.
No.
Yes, nobody knows that better than you.
Where is he? Where is he? I've got to see him.
You will. You care to join us, Mike?
Is it a pinch?
It is indeed. I'm so glad your apartment is only 8 minutes from headquarters. Whenever we have a homicide, I can always stop here first.
I hope you'll be with us then. In the meantime, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/greatdetectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.